Welcome, friends. My name is Avinash, and I welcome all of you to another interesting episode of Corporate Face to Face series. Friends, as all of you are aware, we introduce to you emerging as well as existing companies, in these episodes, and take an opportunity to talk to the promoters and the top managements of such companies. And in this process, we get to know about their thought process, their vision, their growth plans, their business journey. And friends, today we've got a very interesting company, which we have been tracking for a very long time. In fact, this is a already listed company on the capital markets. The company's name is Deep Industries Limited, and I have the privilege of having, Mr. Paras Savla, who's the chairman and managing director. Paras ji, बहुत बहुत thank you time देने के लिए. I'm quite sure that in this small interaction, we'll be able to understand your company in a much better manner. We also have Rohan Shah, who's the Director of Finance and the CFO of the company. So, Rohan, thank you very much. Uh, Without wasting time, Paras ji, जो पहला सवाल है, first question is basically if you could tell us, how important is the energy security for a country like India? Given the current geopolitical kind of circumstances which we are currently see. And सर इसमें हमारे लिए दीप इंडस्ट्रीज के लिए क्या टेलविंड्स होंगे तो सर इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा इफ यू कैन प्लीज शेयर योर थॉट्स.
So energy security is quite important for our economic growth, of course, for the national security and the social stability. And India is already having a heavy reliance on imported oil and gas, and therefore it is very important that India maintains its food production, which can give a good amount of stability to the country. If you ask about how deep or the tailwinds that help the company, it would be largely based on the requirements that are floating around the sector. So since government's focus is largely emphasized on producing more oil and gas, it definitely bottoms line to the requirement to the companies like us. So particularly with us in all the sectors related to the gas processing side or the drilling or the integrated processes, I think it becomes much obvious that companies like Deep Industries would be more beneficial. So we do have an upper edge on the requirements that are floating around because of this requirement in the country.
Bharatji, now one thing which I want to understand is that we are very old players in the oil and gas services segment. So, sir, हमारा market में positioning क्या है? How is it like, what is the kind of USP and what is the kind of advantage which we have when we talk to major oil majors like ONGC, Reliance, most of the customers you cater. So, sir, ऐसे market में हमारी positioning given the kind of current geopolitical conditions है जैसे आपने कहा कि oil production needs to be raised in the country so that the country becomes self-reliant. So, sir, how are we positioned in the market if you take the next, say, 2 to 3 years going forward?
See, if you see our positioning in the sector, if you see our scenario, what we used to do before few years, we were confined to few services, and in last few years, we have been able to add many other services. So while we speak today in the entire onshore oil and gas production or the services, we have more than 70% of the market share. So our unique position is largely based on the fact that we have been providing the entire chain of gas processing services. We have been providing the complete set of integrated services with respect to workover or drilling rigs, or be it logging, hydrofracturing, cementing. So both these conditions are very unique because there are none other companies than Deep who has been very actively into these spaces. So with every little growth that is going to come up in the country, we believe we would be the direct beneficiary as we have almost our involvement in all these sectors.
Parag ji, अभी on ground अगर मैं आपको पूछूं कि what is the kind of demand signals we are getting, because people get confused when crude prices go up, crude prices come down, they get a feeling that that has a direct impact on our company. सर मेरे को बताइए on ground overall oil and gas market जो है not only domestic but even global, what are the kind of tailwinds, what are the kind of signals you are getting? Do you think this market is going to flourish? There is going to be no obstacle for us, business is going to be as usual? Because this is a very important question, because सर लोग नॉर्मली क्रूड के प्राइसेस देखने के बाद एक अंदाजा लगाते हैं कि इसमें थोड़ा सा इन कंपनी को प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है, क्योंकि एवरीवन नोज दैट टुडे क्रूड प्राइसेस go up, then obviously it benefits the upstream companies, and if it obviously if it goes up, then it goes to impact the oil marketing companies. So हमारे business के लिए is crude price a very important variable for viability of the business? And secondly, broadly, sir, demand signals आपको customer से क्या मिल रहे हैं?
See, as far as the crude prices are concerned, definitely these prices are something that a person would read out the barometer of what the industry is. But the fact of the case is कि हमारा contracts जो है वो crude oil से linked नहीं है. So if we are providing services to them in either of the sectors, that contract period ranges from 3 to 5 years. So even if the crude oil prices have to top up or whatever prices they go or what, even if they have to go low, we are not impacted at all because our services are very stagnant in a nature. We have to provide service into that period, irrespective of crude oil prices going up or down.
Okay.
But as a matter of fact, we have observed that there is a lot of demand coming in because, as I mentioned about the international crude oil prices and international requirement or the India, the way it is growing. So we are not impacted. On the contrary, we have a lot of orders pipeline. We have a lot of expression of interest coming day in, day out. So if you ask me that every month we are giving a lot of expression of interest to our clients, budgetary quotations, then eventually those kind of budgetary quotations get converted into the tenders, and then they are followed with the orders.
Okay.
So we have got a pretty good amount of bidding pipeline. So that itself is an indicator of what are the undercurrents that are prevailing into the market.
So fine. I think nicely articulated, Parajji. Rohan, now, an important question on the order book. We already have an order book of 3,000 crores, and markets have already known this. You all have made this announcement to the exchanges. मेरे को बताओ रोहन कि this 3,000 crores is kind of a figure. In what time frame can we expect that these orders are going to be fully completed? And on the L1 side, any idea that what is the kind of bidding which has happened post this order book which you have already reported? So if you could give us some flavor, whatever is possible.
Sure. So our existing order book is almost 3,000 crore, and of which one of the major contract is production enhancement contract, which is having value of around 1,400 crore. So that particular contract is executable over a period of 10 years, according to us. And the balance, almost 1,600 crore order book is executable over a period of 2.5 to 3 years. And so that's a very fair chance of putting growth on revenue side. With regards to order book, our bidding pipeline, our current bidding pipeline has reached to almost 700 crores, with possibility of success of almost 50 to 60%, you can say.
Okay.
So this conversion will further add to our existing order book in coming quarters.
Okay. So understood. Rohan, one other thing which is very important, which happened in the March quarter, I think, we had acquired a company called Kandla Chemicals. Now, I was wanting to know a little bit of clarity from your side that what was the strategic intent of, first of all, taking over this company? And I understand this company is not, profit making, but it has got a large tax cover. So in what way is Kandla Chemicals actually going to help Deep Industries in the longer term? So if you can, please explain.
Sure. So there were few critical reasons why we bidded this company and got it. So primary, the first reason was this particular company was into manufacturing of hydrocarbon fluids, which is one of the critical element in our services called integrated project management and production enhancement services. So there we consume a good amount of such liquids. So as a part of backward integration, this can be a helpful equation by reducing our operating cost by producing in-house. And so that was a primary reason we go for this company. Second interesting reason was it had a good amount of real estate property, which was amounting around near to value of acquisition. And so by that, it was a very safe bet, we can say. And you will surprised to know that this company we have acquired in just 2 crores. And with that 2 crore acquisition, they had inventory lying on their books of more than 240 crores.
Okay.
which we had to return it off because there was no actual inventory, and that's how we took that one-time non-cash loss on our books.
Okay.
If we'll consider that an opportunity to take tax benefit out of it, then also it can be a great opportunity. So that's an incidental benefit we can take as well.
Okay. So basically, what we are trying to say, Rohan, is that basically these were not actual losses. This was just a book entry, which I think happened in the year financial year 25. And this was a one-time entry, right? So basically, there is not going to be any adjustment in FY 26. 26 में ऐसा कुछ नहीं होगा.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And
So I think that
26 May, there will not be any such write-off.
Yeah. So I think that gives a lot of clarity because investors were a little surprised when they saw the March quarter. But I think as you rightly pointed out that this was just an accounting adjustment. Actual cash flow में कुछ ज़्यादा फर्क हुआ नहीं है. Cash flow में I think things are as they are as earlier. मुझे एक बार और बताओ कि basically for the other subsidiary which we have taken, I think on this we have already commented to investors in your con calls earlier. डॉल्फिन ऑफशोर पे अभी क्या स्ट्रेटेजी है? बहुत सालों से आई थिंक यू ऑल हैव डन लॉट ऑफ एफर्ट इन एंश्योरिंग दैट प्रभात द बार्ज हैज एक्चुअली नाउ गॉट ऑपरेशनल. इसमें अभी कैन वी से दैट वी आर एट अ ट्रिगर पॉइंट, रोहन, दैट नाउ द नेक्स्ट 2 years वी आर गोइंग टू सी अ वेरी solid cash flow coming from this asset for the company? If you could please tell your thoughts.
Yes, so as you rightly said, we have just completed the trigger, and with this order, which is for the barge Prabha, we have signed an agreement for 3 years with overall contract value of more than 280 crores. So it would be net 90 plus crore per year.
Okay.
Interestingly, this rate is net of OPEX.
Okay.
So whatever revenue we would be earning, almost everything will come under EBITDA.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so it would be a huge margin opportunity for us.
Okay.
In addition to this barge, we have also acquired a 37% stake in one anchor handling tug by joint venture with our overseas partner. And with this revenue from that particular tug will also contribute in overall revenue of Dolphin Offshore. So we are expecting almost 100 crore coming in from Dolphin with a good margin. That will add in my overall profitability of the group as well as top line. In addition to these two assets, we have planned to add few more assets in coming years. So we are quite bullish on the growth opportunities in Dolphin in next 2 to 3 years. It can change the entire dynamics of the business.
So fine, I think very nice to know because Rohan, this was one point which a lot of people wanted more clarity from the management. So you have provided a very clear, defined kind of strategy and growth path. पारस जी, मेरे को बताइए अभी अगले 2-3 साल का विदाउट गिविंग अ नंबर, बिकॉज वी डोंट वांट एनी इश्यूज ऑन द कंप्लायंस साइड, विदाउट गिविंग अ नंबर, सर अभी हमारा जो टॉप लाइन है, कैन वी एक्सपेक्ट दैट इन द नेक्स्ट 3 years hopefully I think Deep will be continuing its strong growth trajectory what it has shown in the last 2 to 3 years, or will it be better? Because order book तो अच्छा ही है, लेकिन new businesses also will come in, plus you got your subsidiaries also going to contribute on the bottom line side. But overall top line growth, can we say that can we expect a slightly better kind of growth number, or we can easily sustain this growth number for the next say 2 to 3 financial years?
अगर आप नंबर देखेंगे और अगर हमारा जितना ऑर्डर बुक है अगर उसको आप अप्रोप्रिएट करेंगे तो आपको समझ में आ जाएगा कि 2-2.5 साल में ऑलरेडी कमिटेड हमारा ऑर्डर बुक है. एंड दैट इज अ गुड अमाउंट ऑफ इंडिकेशन कि वो अभी करंट ईयर से या लास्ट ईयर से वो कितना ग्रोथ में जाएगा. बट हैविंग सेड दैट भी ऑलरेडी हमारे पास बहुत ही रिच बिडिंग पाइपलाइन है. एंड एज आई मेंशन अभी ये ट्रेंड अभी खत्म नहीं हुआ है. तो वी आर सीइंग एवरी डे इन डे आउट इतना सारा कुछ एक्सप्रेशंस ऑफ इंटरेस्ट और टेंडर्स आ रहे हैं. सो आई एम वेरी बुलिश गोइंग फॉरवर्ड. दिस ऑर्डर बुक वुड बी डेफिनेटली ग्रोइंग हेड with good amount of growth or business as I mentioned, it is very I mean we are very bullish in today's time.
ठीक है, तो उसका मतलब confidently we can expect that जो growth number हमने 25 का और 24 का लिया है, मेरे ख्याल से उससे कहीं बेहतर number आएगा, because order book has given us very strong visibility, and plus, as you said, the business is very stable. There is no correlation with the crude oil price, and that gives you a little amount of comfort, because as it is, Rohan will also concur with me that having a margin of almost 40% in a service business is definitely very very attractive. सर, बहुत कम कंपनियां हैं जो ऑयल कंपनीज सेक्टर में काम करती है, उनको इतना मार्जिन कमा के हम लोग देखते नहीं है. So I think what you say is right, that the numbers for 26 and 27 should be definitely more robust and more stronger. So that at least is definitely a good sign.
And
Paresh
also,
जी,
I would like to add,
yeah,
sorry.
please.
Yeah, I would like to add कि अभी हमारे जितने इक्विपमेंट्स अभी हमारे पास जो कंपनी में है वो ऑलमोस्ट आप कह सकते हैं कि सारे लॉन्ग टर्म कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में ऑक्यूपाइड हैं.
हाँ.
तो हमारे पास कुछ अभी बचा नहीं है. इन अ वे वी आर एग्जॉस्टेड. So
Okay.
and therefore that is also a good reason for us to grow, to buy more equipments, to get into more orders.
Okay.
So that itself is a very very good indication.
Okay. I think Paras, one question which I think from the answer of Paras ji, which comes to me is that मोटा मोटी नेक्स्ट 2 साल में हमारा ब्रॉड कैपेक्स कितना रहेगा, बिकॉज योर बिजनेस इज एसेट इंटेंसिव, यू नीड टू इन्वेस्ट इन एसेट्स. तो हमारे लिए अगले 2 साल का ओवरऑल what is the kind, will it be capex heavy, like we are obviously well funded, no doubt about it, but then will we have a reasonably good dose of capex added in the next 2 years?
On a very conservative side, now to put that numbers into perspective is a bit difficult, because that conversion only happens once we receive the order.
Yeah.
But my gut feeling says that in 2 years we should do at least 400 to 500 odd crore of capex.
Okay. So for Rohan, normally, since this is an asset intensive industry, if we just take a multiple, that is asset turnover की भाई 100 crore का asset हमने लगाया, तो मोटा मोटी, let's say not in the first year but in the second year, can we expect the asset turnover levels to be scaled up based on the order book which you have?
Yes. So in our business, these assets are having life of more than 25 years. And we always try to recover our money in first 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
And post that asset is free for us for more than 20 years kind of life.
Okay.
So since we are continuously growing, I think in last 4 to 5 years, we have always been into capex mode by adding more and more equipments in our fleet.
Correct.
And so we believe that with this existing fleet, our asset turnover can definitely be improving going further. Currently, it can be said around say 0.7 or 0.8 times.
Okay. I think so. Basically, as more and more orders come in, you sweat your assets in a more profitable manner, the asset turnover will obviously improve, and which will actually give you that operating leverage also. So definitely nice to know. पारस जी, अभी एक सवाल है जो डिविडेंड्स के ऊपर है. इनफैक्ट आई वाज जस्ट सीइंग दैट फ्रॉम 21 to 25, we just had recorded these numbers that your operating cash flows in the last almost 5 years from 21 to 25 have total around 600 crores plus. फ्री कैश फ्लो सर आपके 465 करोड़ है. लेकिन अगर हम डिविडेंड्स देखें सर, क्यूमुलेटिव डिविडेंड्स देखें, तो मुश्किल से सर 35-40 करोड़ का फिगर आता है. तो आई वाज वांटिंग टू नो सर, व्हेन गॉड हैज ब्लेस्ड यू विद सच अ गुड बिजनेस, प्रमोटर इज आल्सो वेरी वेल फोकस्ड ऑन द ऑपरेशंस, सर एज अ शेयर होल्डर, फाइनली यू आर आल्सो द लार्जेस्ट शेयर होल्डर इन द कंपनी. तो सर डिविडेंड्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सर आगे कुछ इंप्रूवमेंट आ सकता है, बिकॉज सो मच कैश इज बीइंग जनरेटेड एवरी ईयर. अभी अगले साल भी नंबर्स अच्छे आएंगे, उसके बाद में भी आएंगे. यू गॉट गुड रेवेन्यू विजिबिलिटी. सो व्हाट इज योर थॉट प्रोसेस ऑन द डिविडेंड पेआउट्स? कैन वी एक्सपेक्ट सम बेटर इंप्रूवमेंट गोइंग फॉरवर्ड?
So I'll take this question. So as you rightly said, we are generating good amount of cash year on year, but parallelly we are growing year on year, and so free cash flow is being used for capex. So as you rightly mentioned, in last 4 years we have generated operating cash flow more than 600 crore. But in parallel, we have done capex of more than 500 crore also in these years.
Exactly, correct.
So the free cash flow is being used for growth of the business, and we have our dividend policy which says that we will be distributing 15% of net profit every year. So definitely with good amount of growth, we can look to improve that dividend percentage. but I would like to mention that this free cash flow is largely being used for growth only.
No, no, that is good. In fact, ये अच्छी बात है. This is a good thing because see, shareholders will also like that, in productive assets, the cash flows are reinvested because that is going to give you a higher, ROC in the business. So,
Correct.
typically every shareholder definitely expects something more, So, this is definitely a debate which can go on. But I think your point was logical that large part of the money, if it goes in, real assets again for reinvestment, that is definitely going to give you a better kind of a return. So, point taken. Rohan, now I wanted to understand that we have a goodwill of around 384 crores. This goodwill, I believe, all you must be aware that when this actual demerger happened between Deep Energy and Deep Industries, that time this
Right.
goodwill came on our balance sheet. Now, is it necessary to be there on the books? Because when we bid for contracts, do you need to show a bigger balance sheet? क्योंकि finally it is a kind of a book asset. उसमें कुछ actual में तो कुछ है नहीं. But what is happening is all you will also agree that as a finance professional that the return on equity is one parameter which most fund managers, most analysts look at it. So इसको लेके कुछ internal discussion आपका हुआ है कि finally how do you want to ensure that whatever profits you record, whatever cash flows you record, that gets reflected in a proper ROE because finally in your business. There is very little debt on the books. You've got very good profitability, very thick EBITDA margins. Somehow that is not getting reflected in a good ROE number. So, can we expect that in future some amount of creative accounting or some kind of smart accounting will be adopted? I mean, this is just a question from our side. Finally, it's the management prerogative how to, finally take it forward.
See, Avinash ji, as you rightly mentioned, this is a non-cash goodwill. So it's a book entry which has been generated out of demerger. So I would request everyone to see from the perspective that for this particular goodwill, we have not paid anything. And so while calculating return ratio, one should exclude this goodwill. Having said so, we are actively discussing internally how to remove this goodwill from books to improve on paper return ratios. So, because we are following Ind AS, we'll have to go for impairment testing of goodwill at every year end,
Correct.
every financial year end. And if that impairment testing suggests goodwill needs to be impaired, then only you can impair. Otherwise, you cannot impair that goodwill in the books.
Correct.
And that is how we are not been able to remove that goodwill till now. However, as you were just pointing out, we are trying to be creative and we are analyzing some options by which we can remove this goodwill. We can definitely come up with some solution in this current financial year.
Oh, I think very nice to hear that, Rohan. Shareholders will definitely look forward because this is very important.
See, in addition to this goodwill point, our ROE are appearing little less because of nature of this particular business.
Correct.
Whatever capex we are doing in a particular year, that capex is not earning in that particular year.
Correct.
So mobilization time in our projects are largely 6 to 8 months.
Correct.
And so at any balance sheet date, if you have incurred capex or if you have added plant and machinery and your equity or capital is employed, that particular capital will be earning in next financial year. And
Correct.
that's how for that particular financial year, return ratios are appearing little less.
Thank you. Well, I think point taken. What you said is absolutely right. I think markets are always greedy for something more, and that too in a very short period of time. So running the business is entirely a different kind of game. Point taken, Rohan. Bharatji, now two questions which are very relevant, from an investor mindset is that, sir, अभी जो market का condition है oil market में, when you talk to an ONGC, a Reliance, sir, what is the level of competitive intensity? यहाँ पे जो already established player है, हम तो already है, I mean हमारे जैसे और भी कोई लोग होंगे. Sir, what is the level of competitive intensity? Is it like everybody gets business based on his merit and based on his track record, and new entrants are not very easy to come? Because obviously you need to have a track record, people need to know you better. And sir, हमारे धंधे में, if you leave the financial part aside for some time, sir, what is the value add for a customer when he comes to Deep? Like I'm quite sure that a lot of repeat business comes to Deep from our existing customers. Sir, दो तीन चीजें हमको बताइए कि where we stand very strongly compared to competition and where you can say Deep has formed a very strong competitive moat. Sir, दो तीन चीजें अगर if you can share for us, please.
सी हम जो कन्वेंशनल बिजनेस जो कर रहे थे हायरिंग का, आई थिंक वी आर स्टिल डूइंग दैट, बट वी चेंज आवर स्ट्रेटजीज. अगर आप देखेंगे लास्ट 3 साल में हमने हमारा स्ट्रेटजी पूरा चेंज कर दिया. हमने पूरा स्ट्रेटजी के अंदर वी ट्राई टू इनकॉर्पोरेट अ न्यू बिजनेस. जैसे कि ईपीसी का बिजनेस है, हम पूरा ईपीसी को हायरिंग पे ले गए. सो आई बिलीव वी आर फर्स्ट कंपनी इन द कंट्री टू क्रिएट दैट काइंड ऑफ अ मॉडल कि जहां पे पूरा गैस प्रोसेसिंग प्लांट हमने हमारे क्लाइंट के लिए बनाया और हमने उनको हायरिंग पे दे दिया. यूजुअली इस टाइप की सर्विसेज नॉर्मली कोई करता नहीं है. इट इज ओनली लाइक अ ट्रांसफर वाला प्रोडक्ट होता है, बट वी कंप्लीटली कन्वर्टेड दैट. So I think with that there was a huge competitive edge. So as we speak, हिंदुस्तान में कोई भी कंपनी नहीं है जिसने ऐसा काम किया है. एंड गोइंग फॉरवर्ड अभी इतने सारे काम जैसे पीएसयूज हैं या प्राइवेट सेक्टर हैं, सो एवरीवन वुड लाइक टू गेट दैट काइंड ऑफ अ मॉडल जहां पे उनकी कैपिटल इन्वॉल्वमेंट कम हो और उनकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ओनली इन द डिलीवरेबल हो. So I think that model is something that is befitting us, which is keeping us a little apart to what others are doing. एंड सेकेंडली अभी जैसे कुछ समय पहले एक पीसी का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हमें अवार्ड हुआ. सो दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी यूनिक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हमें 15 साल के लिए मिला है, वेयर वी हैव टू प्रोड्यूस द गैस. द फील्ड्स जो अभी डिप्लीट हो रही हैं उनमें हमें हमारी टेक्नोलॉजी से वी हैव टू एनहेंस द गैस प्रोडक्शन एंड देन वी हैव अ शेयर टुवर्ड्स इट. तो ये इनोवेशन इज समथिंग दैट इज चेंजिंग. इट इज गोइंग टू बी अ गेम चेंजर. तो मैं समझ रहा हूं कि जो कन्वेंशनल धंधा कर रहे थे लेकिन उससे जो हमने हटके ये ईपीसी हायरिंग को जो कन्वर्ट करके लेके आए और ये पीसी, आई थिंक दिस इज सेटिंग अस अपार्ट फ्रॉम द अदर कॉम्पिटिटर्स. सो इट इज वेरी वेरी प्रॉमिसिंग एंड आई सी मोर सच पीसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स आल्सो टू कम अप in near future.
No, I think very nice to hear, Bharatji, because this I think you rightly mentioned this will be a new game changer because ये आपका पूरा बिजनेस का कॉम्प्लेक्शन ही बदल देगा और obviously you will be a front runner here. Very nice to hear. Rohan, now one more question which I wanted to ask you. This question has been repeatedly asked by a lot of analysts in the con calls. हमने डॉल्फिन बहुत ही सस्ते में लिया है, 25-30 करोड़ की हमारी बाइंग थी एंड आई थिंक इट वाज अ वेरी गुड एसेट फॉर अस. बट सर पुराने जो डेटर्स है उसमें क्या स्टेटस है? बिकॉज सी पीपल फाइनली लुक एट that are these debtors continue to remain good on the books और इसमें से at least 100% नहीं तो at least 75-80% पैसा वापस आएगा कि नहीं? बिकॉज पुराना प्रमोटर था, आई थिंक वॉट एवर ओल्ड ड्यूज वर देयर still yet to come. On that, is there any timeline put by the company management ki at some point of time we are going to actually say that okay, this is it? Because just carrying the debtors year after year, frankly, now you said Dolphin is at a trigger point. Profitability also will be very rock solid in 26-27. Can we expect that some concrete decision will be taken on this aspect in say the next 12-18 months?
Sure. So, as you rightly mentioned, Dolphin was an excellent buy for us, and we acquired that company in just 27 crore, and had a good amount of property coming in with this group, with this acquisition. So for us, these debtors are non-cash debtors, I would say. We haven't paid anything for these debtors.
Correct.
These debtors which are appearing in our books, whatever we would be recovering, that is directly would be added to our bottom line, because and that too without tax, because earlier management has already paid tax on it.
Exactly.
So out of around 140 crores of debtors, around 40 crores are for their overseas subsidiary and around 100 crores are of their Indian company.
Cool.
So from Indian companies receivables, we have already received a few arbitration award in our favor, which comes to around 30 crore. So that 30 crore will come in our bank in coming months itself. So out of 100 crore, you can say 30 crore is already recovered, just amount needs to be credited.
Okay.
With regards to overseas receivable, again, arbitration award is in our favor, and they'll come in our bank account over a period of time, because there they'll have to follow the waterfall mechanism as per their arbitration award.
Right.
So I would say as on date, almost 50% we have already recovered. And for rest of it, we are already pursuing hard with these debtors. Largely, these debtors are of our industry only, and with our relations with these clients for years. We are pursuing it hard, and we are quite hopeful that we can recover majority of them in time to
I
come.
think point taken, Rohan, because recovering money is always going to be a challenge. ये तो फाइनेंस में हम जानते हैं कि पैसा रिकवर करना आसान बात नहीं होती, लेकिन फिर भी आई थिंक व्हाट यू सेड इज राइट. इट लॉजिकली मेक्स सेंस बिकॉज इफ यू से 50% have recovered and 50% come, and ultimately it's like a straight direct entry to your bottom line because इसमें कोई
Correct.
अच्छा नहीं है. So I think it makes sense, but I'm saying, markets will be happy that, if this entire exercise gets complete at least over the next, say, 2 years. एक डेढ़ दो साल में अगर पैसा आ गया तो आपके लिए भी अच्छा है, शेयर होल्डर्स के लिए भी अच्छा है. Obviously the balance sheet also becomes little more trim and more clean. That is what the entire objective of asking the question to you was. Rohan, now another question is now, we have got two companies, Dolphin and Kandla Chemicals. Now, I was just seeing that, यहाँ पे तो टैक्स लॉस काफी है. मेरे ख्याल से डॉल्फिन में भी करीबन 100 crore है, आपका कांडला केमिकल्स में भी बड़ा टैक्स लॉस है. तो गोइंग फॉरवर्ड व्हेन वी कंसोलिडेट द नंबर्स फॉर दीप इंडस्ट्रीज, फॉर FY 26, कैन वी एज्यूम दैट हमको टैक्स बर्डन ज्यादा नहीं होगा? बिकॉज ओवरऑल जब हम कंसोलिडेट करेंगे नंबर्स तो हमारे पास टैक्स शील्ड काफी रहेगा. तो कैन वी एज्यूम दैट tax burden for us going forward in the next, say, 1 to 2 years will be relatively less? Can we assume that?
So ideally, tax benefit comes to that particular company only, not on consolidated basis. You get that benefit.
Okay.
So tax benefit of Dolphin we can claim under Dolphin, and
Okay.
tax benefit of Kandla we can claim under Kandla.
Okay.
However, we have active discussion. If we can merge this company into Deep, we can take that benefit of tax into Deep.
Okay.
So we might think of merging one of them into Deep in coming time, and
Yeah.
with that possible merger, we can take that tax shield in Deep itself.
Okay. Okay.
If we'll be able to do that, then definitely our tax rate would drastically be reducing.
I think that is really nice to hear because Rohan, money saved is money earned. ये धंधे में सबको पता है. तो अगर ये ऐसा होता है तो I think markets will be very happy, and this is definitely finally earnings accretive for Deep Industries. So anyway, nice to know. Bharat ji, just before we end, just one more question. Just wanted to know now that we have maintained this business, demerger होने के बाद अभी business बहुत अच्छी तरह से हमने position किया है. It's ready for the next leg of growth. Sir, what is your broad message to the shareholders? Because अभी तो retail है, institutional है, a lot of HNIs have invested in our company. But then going forward in the next, say, 2 to 3 years, how you think the journey is going to be for Deep Industries, and how you think in a little descriptive way without putting numbers, sir, कैसे wealth creation सभी लोगों का होगा? Because obviously we have seen, initially the share was illiquid. Now a lot of investors have come in. Order book भी अच्छा है, profitability भी बहुत अच्छी है. So, sir, in your own words, how do you say that next 2 3 years में, how do you plan to reward shareholders? With your performance तो आपने reward कर ही दिया है, but how will this all get reflected on the value of the business going ahead?
तो देखिए ऑर्डर बुक जो है वो तो अपने we have something very much visible in front of us, and I am so very confident that in next 2 to 3 years we'll have immense growth coming in the company. And our track record is already in front of us. If you see the numbers for last 3 years or 4 years, that gives a very clear idea about what the indicative numbers could be as we go forward. So one can make a reasonable idea about how this growth is going to happen. So I believe the development that is happening within the company is going to reward to the shareholders, and that share reward would be clearly reflected with the numbers that are going to get performed. So my only request to the shareholders is that this sector has been for quite a few years we have been seeing that oil and gas sector के अंदर traction इतना ज़्यादा नहीं था, but with the company and the growth that is going these days, I believe, and also that is going to go for a few more years as we see. The growth could be quite good. It could definitely add a lot of value to the shareholders and their wealth. And my only request would be that if they like the sector, they should be looking at this sector, which is very promising as we go forward.
Okay. Bharat ji, now last question, which is very important. We ask all the promoters this question. सर, हमारे धंधे में सबसे बड़ा रिस्क क्या है? आई मीन हमने इतने सालों से वी हैव मैनेज्ड द शो वेरी वेल, बट ऑब्वियसली एवरी बिजनेस हैज गॉट सम रिस्क अटैच्ड. We leave alone, events like COVID, but I believe, we are in a very energy critical kind of input, because without this, the country cannot prosper. Tell us one thing, sir, is Dhande mein, what is the most important risk which you monitor every day and how have you kept it at an optimum level? If you can please tell us.
See, सबसे important तो है we keep executing the contracts because we on our technical abilities and the resources that we have been always on the front path of executing the contracts. तो अगर contracts execute time पे नहीं हुए, resources available नहीं हुआ, उसके वजह से कभी मैन पावर का issue होगा. तो these are definitely the risk one cannot avoid. But out of our 30 years of experience, we have been able to counter them and we have been able to take care of each of these. So I don't see these as a problem, but when you have to count that as a risk, it is definitely a risk. Execution comes first. But I think we have a pretty good understanding on encountering this risk. And we have been quite successful also in all past these years.
But I think you have rightly mentioned, Paras ji, जिस प्रकार का track record आपने maintain किया है, I think you have managed risk very well, and I think you have delivered, much better than what I think, the risk, actually presents to us. So, sir, thank you very much. बहुत अच्छा लगा, Rohan and Paras ji आपसे बात करने को, and I'm quite sure that, investors would be definitely benefit because they will really understand the thought process and the kind of long-term vision of the promoters and the kind of roadmap you have planned. And I'm quite sure that even FY26 numbers will be very solid because finally market respects data. And data आने के बाद तो obviously people are going to notice your numbers and your performance also going forward. So thank you very much, sir. Best wishes to you, your entire management team, Parasji, Rohan. And I think we'll catch up in future also. But nice talking to both of you. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Very nice talking to you.
Thank you so much.